Hi, my name's Dr. Graham Carman. I'm the President and CEO of Tinka Resources, listed on the TSX-V exchange. Tinka has one of the best undeveloped zinc projects in the world. We anticipate it will be a top 10 zinc producer. We just published a PEA. The company is well funded, and we're looking forward to some exciting exploration programs and development programs in 2022.
Great. Thank you very much. Welcome, Graham. Good to be talking to you. How are you?
Hi, Marilyn. Nice to see you.
So Tinka Resources, market cap $55 million, and you've just published a PEA on Ayawilca, and it's got an NPV of, remind me, 400 and something million dollars.
Yeah. 433.
$433 million post-tax. And then when you put spot prices in, it jumps up to 735 or something like that. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah. So you've got a great looking set of numbers, and the market cap is languishing at $55 million. We're going to talk about kind of your exploration strategy. We're going to talk about the PEA. But perhaps you could just kind of start off by kind of your thoughts on the market capitalization, kind of where it is and why it is.
Well, the market cap is around 65 million Canadian. We have kind of been traveling along sideways for a period of time. I think there's a number of things holding the market cap back. I mean, the project's gotten better and better. Every year we've found more mineralization. This PEA that we've published is really outstanding. It's an outstanding project in terms of numbers. I think there's a few factors. One is that Peru, there's been some challenging times here. First with COVID, and then there's been some presidential changes. We think things are actually looking up on the political side, and I guess the other thing is, I suppose we really have been knocked around by COVID. I mean, essentially we lost most of 2020. Peru was hit really, really hard by COVID. So now we've just published our PEA, and we're looking forward. This is going to be a really exciting time going ahead. 2022, we've got a lot of exciting work planned in terms of advancing the project, doing more drilling, de-risking the project, continuing with the exploration, looking for more resources. Plus, we've added a new copper gold project to the portfolio, which has the potential to be a really exciting new discovery. So our shareholders who are coming on board, and our existing shareholders will get the advantage of having two strings to the bow, not just one.
Or three if we include the tin, but we can talk about that later.
We can.
Tell me a bit more. I haven't worked in Peru for, goodness me, 12, 13 years. I always found Peru to be a very strange and wonderful place. I mean, the potatoes are just delicious. The food is wonderful. The piscos are great. No, I mean, so many good things about life in Peru. But there's this kind of undercurrent of far out zany stuff. And it's very, very patchy in terms of your ability to work across Peru. I don't know the exact area that you're working in. Is it one of the ones which is open to mining? And I'm sure you're going to say it is, but can you give me some examples why that is?
Well, Peru is a significant mining country. There's a hell of a lot of mines here. They operate successfully. Copper, it's the second largest copper producer in the world, the second largest zinc producer in the world. Permitting can be slow. There is a lot of red tape around permitting, so getting drill permits is slow. We have had a drill permit now in place continuously for a number of years, so we actually haven't been held back by drill permitting. Having said that, it has been slow to get an extension to our drill permits. We've got some fantastic targets that we want to drill, and we've been held up by not being able to permit the wider area. Now, I'm expecting that those permits will come through next year to allow us to drill targets outside of our existing permit. Central Peru, where we are, is well known for its mining. People understand mining. There's been mining in Central Peru now for 100 years, and it's the traditional part of Peru where there is mining, and there hasn't been, shall we say, well documented issues with say communities or strikes and this type of stuff that there has been in other parts of Peru, like in the south or even in the north.
So you're not next to Antamina.
No, we're 100 kilometres from Antamina. By the way, Antamina doesn't really have a history of problems. There was a shutdown just recently because of some concerns there, but mostly there's been issues in the southern part of Peru, Las Bambas, for example.
Yeah, famously. And what's the president? I mean, because I think the Antamina recent kind of kerfuffle has been really stimulated by the Castillo coming in. And that's in almost sense it's empowered the protests against miners. It's said, hang on, this guy is going to be on our side. He's going to support us. What's the feeling that you're getting from him in terms of legislation, potential royalty changes, any tinkering with the tax code, or approaches to permitting? Have you had any indications yet, or are you still in the wait and see mode?
Well, we're in a bit of a wait and see mode. We don't think there's going to be any significant changes from the permitting side. This government isn't going to change anything about permitting. There's a lot of talk about increasing taxes. We think that they may or may not happen. At the moment, they're just trying to solidify their government. Yesterday, there was a vote of confidence in the Congress that went through. It was passed. So that's a good thing. The president is still trying to find his feet, and he doesn't have a lot of experience in governing. But thankfully the Congress there looks to be fairly strong, and it's going to be an interesting time. It really is. It's a bit of a suck it and see, but at the moment, there's enough checks and balances in the system that there'll be a few bumps in the road, Marilyn, but we do anticipate things will continue the way they are. There's no doubt that the communities in Peru are feeling more empowered now than they were. But in our instance, we have fantastic relationships with our communities. We've been working at Ayawilca now for about 10 years. And we expect to be able to continue to work with the communities, and it keeps advancing the project. So, touching wood and all that, Central Peru is not known for its concerns as other parts of the Peru are. We're working very well with the communities, and we're looking for a win-win, and continuing to work with the communities. And from the permitting side, we don't think Castillo is going to have much impact.
Okay, well, I'm not quite reassuring, in its entirety, but it's as you say, wait and see. Let's move on to more positive ground of the PEA, because you said it was an impressive document. I haven't read from the beginning to the end, but I have dipped into it, and it looks like a pretty impressive document. I was quite impressed by the way that project shapes together. Could you just kind of outline some of or just kind of reiterate some of the highlights for the benefit of viewers? Well,
if we were producing today, we would be a top 10 global zinc producer. We'd be number 8. It produces and we'd be the second largest zinc producer in Peru after Antamina. It's not only zinc, but we also produce silver and lead. It's a 15-year mine life, 8,500 tonnes per day. As I say, produce a heck of a lot of zinc going to the local concentrator here in Peru, Nex's refinery here in Peru. The infrastructure is extremely good in this part of Peru. There's roads, we've got power that goes right over the top of the property. There's water. So there's a lot of good things going for this project. Plus, there's a heck of a lot more upside. We believe eventually this project is going to be a heck of a lot bigger in terms of size. There's a huge amount of potential. And as well, we've got the tin upside, Marilyn, which you've mentioned before. We've got a zinc-silver resource, which is nearly 65 million tonnes of mineralisation. Plus, we've got 8 million tonnes of 1% tin. Tin being 10 times the value of zinc at the moment on the metals markets. The 8 million tonnes of 1% tin did not make it into the PEA. So there's a lot of upside there as well.
Could you? I saw in one of your presentations you've got a long section with the zinc silver over the top and the tin zone underneath. Have you got that handy? Could you pull that up? I think it'd be useful diagram to have a look at. Sure.
This is one section which shows the limestone, which is the favourable host. This is the north-south section, and the zinc PEA is highlighted here in the central part. The red is the high grade, and the green is the kind of low grade. There's no vertical exaggeration here, Marilyn. So we're looking at about a kilometre north-south mineralisation, still open to the south. The controls of the mineralisation, we believe, are these faults, these east-west faults, which come through. And there are some other faults here that haven't yet been tested. This one to the south, and this is the one that we're really, really excited to drill. Hopefully in the early part of next year, where we've not been able to drill in the past, and we've got geochem anomalies, geophysical anomalies sitting above that structure.
Have you tried any seismic over that area?
No, we have not tried seismic, but it's a very good suggestion, Marilyn. Now, this is the east-west section, so this is looking, east-west, basically. And this one's got the tin on it, and the tin is highlighted by the orange blobs here, these ones at the base. So mostly the tin is underneath the zinc or even on the sides. At this area at south, there's a bit of commingling of the two. But typically where there's zinc, there's no tin, and when there's tin, there's no zinc. So they actually are completely separate, different style of mineralisation, and they occurred at different times, actually.
Oh, really? Different times? Interesting.
Yeah, the tin was earlier, and the zinc is coming later.
Okay. The PEA covers 19 million tons of indicated resources, and you said that there's 65 million tons of overall resource, which means that there's probably something in the region of 46 million tons of inferred resources. If you, on this, just go back that one slide, if you could, to the long section.
Oh, the long section? Yeah,
please.
This one?
Yeah. So where are the indicated resources, and where's the area that you've done the PEA?
Most amount of drilling. Okay, so the PEA covers all of the resource.
So the full 65. That's why it's a PEA, because it's got you've got inferred resources in there. Sorry, brain going slow.
So of the 65 million tons of indicated plus inferred resources, which if you add them together, which I'm not allowed to do, but I will for the sake of this discussion. In the PEA, the mined resource is 40 million tons. Okay, and of that 40 million tons, 19 million tons, or very close to half, is indicated.
Right.
And
gotcha.
the indicated is located here in the area that we call south. The vast majority of the lower grade mineralisation, which is in green here, is all inferred. If I go back to this one map, which this one here, this is a map looking down, a plan of the resource. And you can see the area in blue and the area in red. So west and south, those are the areas where we've got 19 million tons of indicated resources. And you can see where the drilling through here is less dense. All of that is inferred through central, the green area, through east and blue. And the tin zone's also highlighted on here, Marilyn. It's the grey, which, as we saw in the section just now, is lying underneath the tin zone, the zinc zone. And just in terms of what we think are the controlling structures, I highlighted those structures there on that other cross section. It's these ones here, this kind of northeast trending structures. There's several of those crossing the property. This is the main one that goes all the way through here, but there are others that have not yet been drill tested.
Okay, great. Let's just, I'm going to kick this off the screen for now.
Okay.
Thank you. Amuse me, I've just suddenly thought of this. What happens if the zinc price goes to zero and no one cares about zinc? And from today, the tin price is going to be $35,000 per ton in perpetuity. What would you do, and how would you go about assessing the tin potential from here with the information that you've got, and then taking it forward?
Well, that's one of the great things about Ayawilca, is that we actually have optionality. You saw in that section there with the red highlighting the high grade south deposit. That south deposit grades 9%, 10% zinc. It's well above the average grade of the entire deposit. So we do have the option, and it's also the shallowest part of the deposit and the thickest part. So we do have the option to mine there first, and then potentially, if we can make it work, mine the tin at the same time. So we're going to be looking at that. That's one of the options that we're going to be looking to next year, is in terms of, the optimization, just to see, does it make sense to actually try to mine that high grade tin at the very early part of the mine plan. We couldn't make it work this time. We've got some more metallurgy to do on the tin side. The zinc metallurgy is very straightforward. On the tin side, there's more work to do.
When you say it's more metallurgy to do, is that because it's in stannite, or have you got cassiterite, grain size issues? What are the problems there, or the challenges?
It's all cassiterite, 95% cassiterite. So that's a big tick. It's hosted by pyrrhotite, which is iron sulfide. That's the matrix of the mineralization. There's cassiterite disseminated inside of that sulfide. So the trick is to get rid of all of that sulfide. And what we've done so far in the metallurgy is we've used gravity, but we haven't used some other tricks like flotation to remove the sulfide. We haven't used some other areas that we could increase our tin recovery. So there's more work to be done. The other thing on the tin is that there's some really high grade zones fairly near the surface. So we think if we could come up with a smaller, even higher grade zone of tin mineralization, bear in mind that 8 million tons is grading 1% tin. We think that there could be the option for 3 or 4 million tons at 1.5% tin. We think that's really going to make that project sing. So there's a lot of optionality in terms of, at the moment, the PEA, what it did is it essentially mines all of the zinc zone at quite a high throughput, 8,500 tons a day. There's some options in terms of reducing the zinc throughput, focusing on the high grade, plus adding a tin circuit.
What is the recovery currently on with the metallurgical test work you've got on the tin?
On the tin, the recovery is around 50-55%.
Okay, so your recovered grade is still 0.5% tin, which is a decent recovery, or possibly a little bit more, 0.5 to 0.5.
That's right. And the reason we didn't add it to this PEA is because by the time you add a tin circuit, of course, bearing in mind it'll be completely separate processing, right?
Yeah.
There'd be some shared processing, but by the time we mine the tin and you add it on to the end of the mine life, it doesn't add anything to MPV.
No, but if you can mine it at the front end, if you can mine it in the first few years, then it makes sense, surely. That's it.
But again, because we're mining 8,500 tons per day of zinc, and then we mine a few hundred tons of tin. How do we do that? How do we fit it into the processing? That's why we didn't do it this time. It was we just didn't quite have the keys to do it. But we're certainly going to be looking at it in the future.
Okay, well, let's move on to that. Let's ask a few questions, or let's explore a little bit about what happens next, because you said from reading the announcement, it says the Ayawilca PEA is good. We go on to the next stage, which is, of course, a pre-feasibility study. You said you want to do more work on the tin, and you also want to do some more work on the exploration. So my first question is, why are you doing some exploration? Because 45 million tons, 65 million tons looks like plenty. Are you just doing infill drilling, excuse me, or are you doing step out as well?
We're going to be doing both, Merlin. The infill drilling will be important because it increases the confidence of the resource, and that has to be done eventually anyway. So there'll certainly be some infill drilling. The infill drilling is going to be focused on our best part of the project. There's 9 million tons of nearly 9% zinc in inferred, and we think that's there, and that zone's also open. So we're going to be looking to extend those really high grade resources that we've got at South Ayawilca. So it's addition of high grade tons, number one, to add early in the mine life.
You know how? So do you know roughly how many 1,000 meters of drilling you're going to need to do that?
Well, all up is around 10,000 meters of drilling. So there'll be a combination of infill and a combination of adding more high grade resources, and as well, and as well, Merlin, of course, we believe that this project is going to be a heck of a lot bigger, and we want to show that this project can be potentially double or even treble the size of our current resource. We do believe that as huge possibilities. So we've got a couple of really important kind of big step out holes we also want to drill.
Okay, just to show the highlight of the potential of the area. You want to make sure that those go in the right place. The reason why I mentioned the seismic is that I've just seen in WA that's actually on those deep faults. There's been a lot of good exploration work done on that in the Wiluna region, and also in Ireland on these carbonate replacement deposits. They're really picking up stratigraphy really well. The preferential horizons plus these big listric faults in Ireland. I don't know if you've got any vibra-sized trucks in Peru, or whether you could get them over there, but over the terrain. But I certainly know it's worked like a charm in Ireland, and that's how they're extending the mine life of the Tara mines. But maybe you've got enough. Maybe you've got enough vectors on mineralization where you are to be able to put those deeper or those step out holes safely into kind of on trend. Maybe it's rich enough.
Well, again, at the end of the day, you've got to drill. We've got the structures that are there. We're waiting on some permits to be able to drill the extensions of those structures, and also the repetitions. We've got enough evidence there to suggest that there's actually mineralization down there. The question is, how much is there? We're going to have to get the drill out. But if we can show that the potential could be much, much bigger, obviously that's going to make us, in terms of the overall project potential, a lot more attractive. Yeah.
But I mean, already, in some ways, being having a production or a resource base that could potentially sustain 150,000 tons of zinc per annum that's a pretty impressive starting point. So do you consider next year as being the year that you can get the pre-feasibility done? Or is it going to take 18 months?
We think the pre-feasibility is going to take 18 months. The pre-feasibility won't be completed next year. There'll be work done towards, there'll be important work like the de-risking work, there'll be some infill drilling. Because obviously for PFS you cannot use inferred resources. Indeed. It's only measured and indicated. So we've got 19 million tons of indicated resources. We would want to see that those indicated resources increase significantly, and then that obviously means inferred drilling. So infill drilling. So, but there's clearly some engineering we can do on the sides. It's really going to be a combination. It's exploration, it's infill drilling, and it's moving forward on those long lead term important items for a PFS next year.
And when are you going to do the metallurgical? When are you going to have enough of an idea whether to? Sorry, let me start again. A PFS is exactly the time when you do all of these trade-off studies. You go into more rigorous detail to do your to optimize your operation to get the right size. It may be 8,500 tons per day. It might be slightly less with a tin stream. When are you going to, with regard to the tin stream, when are you going to either, what's the gating point where you drop it or you include it? Is it metal? Is it metallurgy?
It's the metallurgy. And that's not necessary. That's not a big cost item, but that's just getting the samples and moving those samples ahead from the right part of the property, from the right part of the resource. Last year we actually hit some really high grade tin. I think it was 8 meters at 3.5% tin or something like that in the drill intercept. And very close to that high grade zinc zone, like literally 30 or 40 meters away. So very accessible. We haven't yet been able to get any metallurgical work done on that material, so that's going to be a priority. It looks coarser grain. You can actually see the cassiterite quite clearly in the drill core.
Yeah.
Whereas, we're going to move that forward too. We're going to get that metallurgical work done as soon as we can on the tin, as well as doing the drilling, as well as doing some of the longer lead items on the PFS work.
And what's a realistic timeline for you to get that tin met work done? Is 6 months, 4 months, 8 months? 6 months.
So let's say 6 months.
Yeah. So by the middle of next year, you will have an idea internally that you're working towards a project with tin or without.
Correct.
Okay, good. Thank you. It's been really fascinating. You talked about a copper gold discovery and a bit of exploration upside. Mm-hmm. Could you show a bit of leg on that, please?
Sure, I'd love to. Just let me share my screen one more time. I'll just show you just a couple of maps. In July, we bought a large package of claims from BHP. Yeah. Right adjacent to Ayawilca. So Ayawilca is here in red. The new project we call Sylvia is in blue. So we now have one of the largest tenement packages in this part of Peru, as you can see on this slide. And BHP had flown, had collected airborne magnetics and it identified some targets and had even done some initial groundwork. And if I just slide through quickly down here, so this area that we call Sylvia Northwest, this is their airborne magnetics, and the red blobs are magnetic anomalies. And these were the samples that were collected by BHP. We've come in here on this area that we call Sylvia Northwest, and we've actually got outcropping rocks up to 12% copper and 18 grams gold. There's a strong correlation between copper and gold. And this is in skarn. This is in skarn that's outcropping. So if I show you this slide, you can see we've got our sampling crew out there sampling these skarns. Yeah, beautiful mineralization, outcropping. We've taken 106 samples to date. We've got a bunch more samples in the lab as we speak, and we'll be announcing some more results from this area. Really exciting.
That looks high. That looks as if that's above. That looks as if it's above 4,000 meters. Is it high? Is it higher than that?
It is above 4,000 meters, Marilyn, but that's okay.
You're Peruvian.
We're used to that. And all of the good mines in Peru are all well above 4,000 meters anyway.
How high was that?
4,500.
Okay. Yeah. I'm a bit of a wuss when it comes to altitude, but I have potted around up on the Peruvian highlands and staggered around, gasping for breath with a headache.
Well, next time you're down in Peru, give us a yell, and potentially we can take you up and take a look at it.
And why? What's the? I'm laughing about those grades at the surface. That's hilarious. But it was sampled by BHP.
Yeah, it was sampled by BHP. Actually, quite interesting, Merlin. They have a model for antimina, right? And antimina is copper zinc, and this is copper gold.
We can't look at that.
It doesn't quite fit, but I guess they thought, well, it's not like antimina. So, I guess they obviously their geos looked at it and they thought, well, they don't quite see a BHP target there. But we think that we've just seen the very top of it, the very, very top, because the geology immediately above those skarns, the limestones there are not very favorable. Whereas once you get into, it's just a little window, right? Just a little window. So who knows? I mean, there's clearly response in the geophysics. There's the grade. Now, we really want to drill this. So we're going to sample it, get it mapped, do all the geophysics that we need to get the permitting sorted out and drill it.
When will you be able to drill it?
Well, let's say 6 to 12 months is my hope. It certainly won't be early next year. Hopefully it'll be late next year. It could take longer. I'm not going to guarantee that it'll be drilled in 12 months, but that's what we're going to be going for.
Yeah,
we'll give it our best shot. There is red tape down here in terms of getting projects permitted. There's no doubt about that.
Well, I mean, you've seen the Lassonde curves enough times to know that the market doesn't really respond very well to a PEA going into pre-feasibility study. And it's a big yawn for them, even though you know, and I know that it's a really valuable set of work that you're doing. So you're going to have to deliver the sex and violence from the copper and the gold exploration. You know, you're going to have to get some trench samples to show the world that is also worthwhile. I'm just riffing off the top of my head. I wonder what you think.
Well, that's our intention, Marilyn. We understand that. We understand that people want to see results quickly, and they like grade, and they like we think this project has a lot, even all of the potential of the things you want to see. It's got grade, it's got potential size, it's in the right part of the world, it's in fantastic host rock, the same host rock as Antamina. It's an area where very few geologists have been. And part of the reason is because it's high. It's also in this little quiet little part of Peru, kind of tucked away in the mountains. It's really hasn't been sampled before. This is the first time ever it's been properly sampled. BHP took 6 samples from that area.
Oh, really? Really? That's
took 6
interesting.
samples, and it really hasn't been sampled before in any way. You know, we couldn't see any evidence that geologists have been there and chipping away at the outcrops. So for all intents and purposes, it's a virgin prospect.
Well, fantastic. So let's talk about allocation of capital. Where are you putting it? How much money have you got, and where are you putting it over the next, let's say, for 2022? Well,
we've got our cash. Our balance sheet has got 11 million Canadian. So we're cautious of the funds that we've got. We're going to be doing basic exploration at Sylvia, and obviously the amount of money to be spent there isn't very much, but we're expecting to drill around 10,000 meters next year at Ayawilca. So we're looking at a $5-6 million expenditure at Ayawilca next year, and that's, as I mentioned, drilling, expanding the resources. Looking for more high grade zones, and between now and let's say February, March, focusing all our attention on Sylvia, sampling, mapping, trenching, doing ground geophysics and that sort of stuff. So there's going to be a lot of news flow coming from Tinka in the next few months. Until we start drilling at Ayawilca, it's virtually going to be pure. It's going to be pure Sylvia copper gold.
Great. Graham, it's been great talking to you. I think I've learned a huge amount for myself about Tinka Resources. Is there anything else that you feel that we haven't covered that you would like to air? Maybe not the personal stuff, but on the professional side of things.
I think we've really covered everything. I'm down in Peru. I've been here for the last 6 weeks. I'm down here for another month. The guys in Tinka have done a fantastic job to advance the projects to where we've got to. We have a really fantastic team. We are technically driven. I'm a geologist. My VP Exploration, Alvaro Fernandez-Vaca, is a fantastic geologist, a lot of experience. We have strong discovery record down here in Peru. And I guess a note to my shareholders, I know it's been a long road. We really do have a fantastic property, and we believe that the market will eventually see the value in Ayawilca. And we're going to continue to move Ayawilca forward. And please bear in mind that we do have a new copper gold prospect that we really like and think has a huge amount of potential. And look forward to presenting those results to you and the market as soon as we get them. So thanks a lot, Merlin. Really appreciate it.
Graham, it's been a pleasure. I'll say speak to you in a few months when we get those, perhaps on the back of some Sylvia results. But let's leave it there for now. I'm going to do a summary for the camera. Thank you very much. I'll catch you later.
Cheers, mate. Bye for now.
Bye.